How often do you find yourself in situations where everything feels overwhelming? The stress, the worries, the constant pressure. Does it seem like happiness is always just out of reach? What if we told you that true happiness can be found in every moment, no matter the circumstances? Is it really possible to stay happy even when life throws its challenges your way? Imagine this: you've had a long, tiring day. The world feels heavy, and yet, in the quiet of your own space, you manage to smile. How? It's not magic. It's a mindset. The idea that happiness doesn't have to be tied to the good or bad things happening in your life, but rather how you respond to them. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we explore life's most profound questions and uncover timeless wisdom for everyday living. If you're seeking ways to stay happy, no matter the situation, you're in the right place. We will dive deep into simple yet powerful insights from Buddhism that can help transform your perspective. Before we dive in, there's something we'd like to say. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. So, if you find value in what you're about to hear, don't forget to like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more wisdom and positive change to the world. Now, let's begin our journey together as we uncover the secrets to staying happy in every situation. In Buddhism, happiness isn't something that comes and goes with external circumstances. It's a state of being, a practice that anyone can cultivate. Let's explore how we can find peace, contentment, and joy, no matter what life throws our way. Understanding the nature of suffering and its role in happiness. Life can often feel like a series of ups and downs, where moments of joy are followed by hardship, and peace is often interrupted by stress. But what if the secret to lasting happiness lies not in escaping suffering but in understanding it? In Buddhism, suffering is not something to avoid, but something to learn from and embrace. To find true happiness, we first need to look at suffering with new eyes. Buddhism teaches us that suffering, or dukkha, is a natural part of life. It's not something that happens to just a few of us. It happens to all of us. No matter how successful we are, how rich, how healthy, or how loved, we all experience suffering in one form or another. The reason for this is simple. Everything in life is impermanent. Relationships, health, wealth, and even our emotions. Everything is temporary. Because of this, when we become too attached to things, we set ourselves up for disappointment and pain. The Buddha, over 2,500 years ago, taught that suffering arises in life because of three main causes: craving, aversion, and ignorance. Craving is when we want something that we don't have, whether it's material possessions, experiences, or emotional satisfaction. This craving creates a gap between what we have and what we want, and the pain comes from trying to bridge that gap. The more we crave, the more we suffer. Aversion is the opposite. It's the pain we feel when we try to avoid things we don't like or fear. This could be anything from difficult emotions, like sadness or anger, to difficult situations, like a job we don't enjoy or a person we don't get along with. The more we try to push away or reject these unpleasant things, the more they seem to persist in our lives, leading to frustration and suffering. Finally, ignorance is not understanding the true nature of life. It's not knowing that all things are impermanent, and thus, we struggle to hold on to them. This leads to unnecessary suffering because we expect life to stay the same, when in fact, change is the only constant. Understanding the nature of suffering is the first step in transforming it. If we accept that suffering is inevitable, we no longer feel like victims when it happens. Instead, we learn to respond with wisdom and mindfulness. The Buddhist teachings offer a path out of suffering by acknowledging its existence, understanding its causes, and ultimately letting go of the attachment that fuels it. To truly be happy, we need to stop running away from suffering. It's in facing the discomfort that we learn and grow. Imagine standing in the rain instead of running from it. At first, it's uncomfortable, but as we stand there, we adapt. We might even find that the rain feels refreshing after a while. In the same way, if we accept our suffering and approach it with awareness, we can transform it into something that brings us closer to peace. Suffering, in Buddhism, is not viewed as something that must be eliminated, but something that can be understood and transcended. By recognizing the impermanence of all things, we begin to let go of our attachment to them. We can't stop the rain, but we can choose how we respond to it. In the same way, we can't stop life's challenges, but we can choose to respond with calm and clarity, knowing that they, too, will pass. When we stop seeing suffering as an enemy, we start seeing it as a teacher. Every difficult moment holds a lesson, whether it's teaching us patience, compassion, or resilience. The more we understand the nature of suffering, the more we realize that it's not the cause of our unhappiness. Our attachment to things, our desire to control outcomes, is what leads to suffering. Buddhism doesn't ask us to avoid discomfort, but to learn to be with it, to accept it, and to see it as a natural part of life. Through this understanding, we gain the power to transform suffering into wisdom. Instead of fearing the difficult moments, we can embrace them as opportunities for growth. The deeper we understand suffering, the more we realize that happiness is not something we can chase or attain in a permanent sense. Happiness, as Buddhism teaches, is a state of mind that we cultivate through our response to life. The happier we become with the impermanent nature of things, the more peace we find within ourselves. The beauty of this practice is that we don't need to wait for life to change or for circumstances to improve to feel happy. Happiness can be found in the present moment, right now, by simply letting go of the need for things to be different. This understanding of suffering is not about feeling hopeless, but about feeling empowered. We don't have to be swept away by life's storms. We don't need to fall into despair when things don't go our way. Instead, we can stand firm like a tree in the wind, knowing that the storm will eventually pass. The more we accept suffering as part of life, the less power it has over us. In the next part, we'll explore how Buddhism teaches us to deal with the impermanence of life in a way that brings inner peace and joy. It's all about realizing that everything we experience, whether good or bad, is part of the natural flow of life, and learning to go with the flow rather than resist it. When we truly understand this, we can find happiness even in the most difficult of circumstances. The Buddhist perspective on impermanence and emotional resilience. In life, there is one undeniable truth. Everything changes. The people we love, the places we visit, and even the feelings we experience, all are in constant flux. This idea, which the Buddha taught so long ago, is known as impermanence. The moment you understand that everything is in a state of change, you start to see life differently. Nothing, whether good or bad, will last forever. This realization can bring you a deep sense of peace, especially in times of hardship. Take a moment to think about a challenging moment in your life. Perhaps it was a difficult argument, a tough decision, or a painful experience. In those moments, it may have felt like everything was crashing down. But over time, that pain faded, didn't it? The emotional storm eventually passed. It wasn't permanent. The truth is, our emotions, too, are impermanent. They come and go. The more we understand this, the less we feel trapped by them. Buddhism teaches us to embrace impermanence as a source of strength. When we resist change, we suffer. We want things to stay the same, we want control, and we want life to go the way we expect. But life doesn't work that way. The key to emotional resilience lies in accepting that everything is temporary, both the good and the bad. Once we let go of the need to control every situation, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. Think of a river flowing. It never stays the same. The water moves, shifts, and changes with the current. But that movement, that change, is what keeps the river alive. If the water were to stay still, it would become stagnant. Similarly, our emotional lives need to flow. Holding on to anger, sadness, or frustration only creates a mental and emotional block. If we learn to let go, we create space for new feelings and experiences to enter. This is where true emotional resilience comes from. Not in avoiding difficult emotions, but in allowing them to pass through us without attachment. When we accept impermanence, we begin to realize that nothing in life is permanent, not even the moments of joy or happiness we chase after. That understanding brings a sense of peace. Why? Because if happiness is fleeting, we stop desperately clinging to it. We learn to appreciate the moments of joy while they last, but we don't depend on them to feel fulfilled. We know that happiness is not something to hold onto tightly. Instead, it's something we allow to flow naturally. This can be a tough concept to grasp because we live in a world where we're often told that we must hold on to happiness, success, and even people. We want to find something constant in a world that is always changing. But, paradoxically, the key to true peace is in letting go of the need for things to stay the same. When we embrace change, we also embrace the fullness of life. The beauty lies in the moments of uncertainty, the unexpected turns, in the way things transform in ways we never imagined. Emotional resilience doesn't come from trying to control our feelings or suppress them. It comes from understanding that emotions, like everything else, are temporary. When we experience a difficult emotion, like sadness or anger, instead of pushing it away or reacting immediately, we can simply sit with it. We can observe it without judgment, knowing that it won't last forever. Over time, this practice helps us build emotional strength. We start to trust ourselves more. We realize that no matter how tough things get, we can always navigate through it. In Buddhism, we are encouraged to practice mindfulness in every moment. Mindfulness is the art of paying attention to what is happening right now, without judgment or attachment. When we practice mindfulness, we notice our emotions as they arise. We don't have to push them away or act on them immediately. Instead, we give ourselves space to experience them fully. This simple practice allows us to become more in tune with our emotions and less controlled by them. For example, imagine you're feeling frustrated. Instead of rushing to act or suppress the frustration, you pause. You take a deep breath and simply observe the feeling. You notice where it's coming from and what's happening in your mind. You realize that this frustration is just a passing cloud. It's not going to stay forever. And when the cloud passes, you'll find calm again. This awareness allows you to be less reactive. You don't get swept away by the storm of emotions. Instead, you stand as the observer, knowing that everything, even your feelings, will change. This understanding of impermanence helps us to embrace emotional resilience because we no longer fear the tough emotions. We understand that they are part of the flow of life, and we have the power to navigate through them. It's like a storm in the ocean. The waves may crash and the wind may howl, but we know that the storm will eventually pass. The ocean remains, calm and steady beneath the surface. Similarly, no matter how turbulent our emotions may feel, there is always a sense of stillness within us that remains constant. The Buddha also taught us that suffering arises from our attachments. We get attached to our desires, to how we want things to be, and to how we think life should unfold. But when things don't go the way we expect, we suffer. So, by understanding that everything is impermanent, we can release our attachments. We don't have to hold on to what we want or expect from life. We can let go and flow with the changes, trusting that whatever comes our way is just another part of the journey. When we learn to let go, we stop trying to force things to stay the same. We stop trying to control outcomes and expectations. This doesn't mean we stop caring or giving our best. It simply means that we accept whatever happens, knowing that it's part of the natural flow of life. This acceptance allows us to remain calm and steady, even in the midst of change. Over time, we begin to build emotional resilience. We stop letting our happiness depend on external circumstances. Instead, we find peace within ourselves, knowing that no matter what happens, we are strong enough to handle it. We learn to live with grace, even in times of difficulty. The key is in accepting impermanence, embracing change, and understanding that our emotions, like everything else, are just temporary visitors. They come and go, and we don't have to let them define us. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed by your emotions, remember this. They won't last forever. Allow them to come, feel them fully, and then let them go. Know that you have the strength within you to navigate through any emotional storm. Embrace the flow of life, and you'll discover the emotional resilience that comes with understanding impermanence. The Four Noble Truths, Pathway to Inner Peace. In life, we are constantly faced with challenges. Some of them are small, like a bad day at work or a disagreement with a friend. Others are much bigger, like losing a loved one or experiencing deep emotional pain. But no matter what the situation, one thing remains true. We all want to find peace in the midst of life's ups and downs. This is where the Four Noble Truths come in. These are simple yet profound teachings that can guide us toward lasting happiness, no matter what we face in life. The first noble truth tells us that life involves suffering. This doesn't mean that life is nothing but suffering, but rather that suffering is a part of the human experience. Whether it's physical pain, emotional distress, or the stress of everyday life, suffering is something that everyone experiences at some point. It's a part of being human, but understanding this truth doesn't have to be depressing or discouraging. In fact, it's incredibly freeing. Why? Because when we accept that suffering is a part of life, we stop resisting it. We stop fighting against it, and in doing so, we allow ourselves to experience life more fully. The second noble truth teaches us that suffering is caused by craving or desire. We often suffer because we want things to be different from what they are. We crave for life to go the way we want it to go, and when it doesn't, we feel frustrated, upset, or disappointed. Think about a time when you wanted something so badly. Maybe a job, a relationship, or material possessions. When you didn't get it, how did it make you feel? This craving, this attachment to how we want things to be, is at the root of much of our suffering. But here's the good news. By recognizing this craving, we can begin to free ourselves from its hold. The third noble truth offers us hope. It tells us that there is an end to suffering. Yes, it's true. Suffering doesn't have to be endless. We don't have to live in a constant state of dissatisfaction. By understanding the cause of our suffering, we can begin to remove it. This is not about getting rid of pain or difficulties, those will still come. But it is about changing the way we relate to them. When we stop craving, when we stop trying to control everything, we create space for peace. We stop letting life's challenges define our happiness. The fourth noble truth provides us with a way out. It is the path to the end of suffering, often referred to as the Noble Eightfold Path. This path is a guide to living in a way that leads to peace and happiness. It's not a quick fix or a simple solution, but rather a lifelong practice. The Noble Eightfold Path consists of 8 principles that help us live with mindfulness, wisdom, and ethical conduct. Let's look at these 8 steps. Right view. This is the understanding of the 4 noble truths. When we see life clearly, we realize that suffering is a natural part of the human experience, and that it can be overcome by changing the way we think and act. Right intention. This involves developing the right attitude. It's about setting the intention to live a life of kindness, compassion, and understanding. Our intentions guide our actions, and by setting the right intentions, we can move toward peace. Right speech. The way we speak has a profound impact on our happiness and the happiness of others. Right speech means speaking truthfully, kindly, and constructively. Avoiding harmful words, gossip, and lies helps create peace in our relationships and in our own hearts. Right action. Our actions should be in harmony with our values. Right action involves behaving ethically, treating others with respect, and avoiding actions that cause harm. It's about living with integrity and being mindful of the impact our actions have on the world around us. Right livelihood. This refers to making a living in a way that does not harm others. It's about choosing work that is ethical, that aligns with our values, and that contributes positively to society. When we work in alignment with our principles, we find a deeper sense of fulfillment and peace. Right effort. This is the effort to cultivate wholesome qualities in our mind and to abandon harmful ones. Right effort involves being mindful of our thoughts and emotions and putting in the work to change negative patterns. It's about developing patience, discipline, and perseverance as we strive to improve ourselves. Right mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being present in the moment, without judgment. Right mindfulness means paying attention to our thoughts, feelings, and actions without getting caught up in them. It's about observing our inner experience with clarity and awareness. Right concentration. This is the practice of focused attention. Right concentration involves training the mind to focus on one thing at a time, helping to cultivate deep states of calm and insight. Through meditation and concentration, we can develop a peaceful and clear mind. When we practice the Noble Eightfold Path, we begin to shift the way we experience the world. We no longer react to life's challenges with frustration, anger, or fear. Instead, we meet each moment with awareness, compassion, and wisdom. This is the path to inner peace, a peace that is not dependent on external circumstances, but comes from within. Now, you might be wondering, does this really work in the real world? The answer is yes. Buddhism isn't just about philosophy or abstract teachings. It's a practical guide for living a happier, more peaceful life. When we follow these teachings, we can find joy and calm even in the most difficult situations. Take, for example, the story of the Buddha himself. Before his enlightenment, the Buddha was a prince who lived a life of luxury. But he soon realized that wealth and pleasure didn't bring lasting happiness. He saw that no matter how much he had, he still felt unsatisfied. This led him to search for a deeper understanding of life. Through meditation and insight, he came to understand the Four Noble Truths and the path to freedom from suffering. His discovery wasn't just for him. It's a path that all of us can follow. As we begin to understand and practice the Four Noble Truths, we start to see the world in a different light. We realize that suffering is not something to be feared or avoided, but something to be understood. We recognize that our cravings and attachments are the root causes of much of our pain. And we come to see that the path to peace is not a distant goal, but a journey that starts right now, in this very moment. In the next part, we will explore mindfulness and how staying present in the moment can help us deal with life's challenges. But for now, remember that the Four Noble Truths offer us a way to transform our relationship with suffering and find true peace. By understanding these truths and practicing the Noble Eightfold Path, we can begin to live a life of freedom, joy, and inner calm. Mindfulness, staying present amidst chaos. In the hustle and bustle of daily life, it's easy to get lost in our thoughts, distractions, and worries. We often find ourselves living in the past, replaying old conversations and mistakes, or worrying about the future, stressing over what might happen. But in doing so, we miss the most important thing, the present moment. The present is where life is happening, yet so many of us ignore it. This is where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness is the practice of paying full attention to what's happening right now. It's about being aware of your thoughts, feelings, and actions in each moment without judgment. It's about experiencing life as it is, not as you wish it to be. And when we learn to practice mindfulness, we open the door to a deeper sense of peace and happiness. Think about the last time you were eating. Were you truly present, savoring each bite? Or were you distracted, thinking about your to-do list, or scrolling through your phone? Now, imagine how different that experience would have been if you were fully present, truly tasting each flavor, feeling the texture of the food, and noticing the sensations in your body. That's mindfulness. In Buddhism, mindfulness is one of the core practices. It's taught as a way to connect with the present moment and free ourselves from the mental clutter that causes suffering. The Buddha himself said, "Mindfulness is the path to the deathless. Unmindfulness is the path to death." This simple statement speaks volumes. When we are mindful, we are fully alive, engaged with the world around us. When we are unmindful, we are lost, drifting through life without truly experiencing it. So, how can we start practicing mindfulness in our everyday lives? The first step is to bring awareness to our breath. Take a moment, wherever you are, to stop and notice how you're breathing. Is your breath shallow or deep? Is it fast or slow? Just observe without trying to change anything. This simple practice helps anchor us to the present moment. When we focus on our breath, we stop getting lost in the past or the future. We bring our attention to the here and now. Another powerful way to practice mindfulness is through mindful walking. The next time you go for a walk, whether it's around your home or in a park, try to pay attention to each step you take. Feel your feet connecting with the ground. Notice the sensation in your legs, and be aware of the sounds around you. This practice can be incredibly grounding, especially when your mind feels scattered or overwhelmed. Mindfulness is not just about formal practices like meditation or walking. It can be integrated into everything you do. Whether you're washing dishes, driving, or having a conversation with someone, you can choose to be fully present. Instead of letting your mind wander to other things, focus on the task at hand. Notice the sights, sounds, and sensations involved in whatever you're doing. It's about engaging with life fully, not passively letting it pass by. The beauty of mindfulness is that it doesn't require any special skills or tools. All you need is the willingness to pay attention. And as you do, you begin to notice how much of your suffering comes from living in your mind, in the stories you tell yourself about the past or future. By returning to the present moment, you can break free from this cycle and find a sense of calm and contentment, no matter what's happening around you. But mindfulness is not always easy. Our minds are constantly busy, racing from one thought to the next. We may find ourselves getting distracted, frustrated, or bored when we try to stay present. This is normal. The key is to be gentle with yourself. Don't judge your thoughts or feelings. Just notice them, and then bring your attention back to the present moment. One of the most powerful things mindfulness teaches us is to accept things as they are. When we practice mindfulness, we stop trying to control or change everything. Instead, we learn to let things unfold naturally, without resistance. This doesn't mean that we become passive or complacent. Rather, it means that we stop fighting against reality. We learn to flow with life, instead of struggling against it. In Buddhism, this acceptance of things as they are is called right view. It's the understanding that everything in life is impermanent. Our thoughts, emotions, and circumstances are constantly changing. The more we resist this change, the more we suffer. But when we accept it, we find peace. We realize that nothing lasts forever, not even our difficulties. This insight brings a deep sense of relief, because it means that no matter how difficult a situation may seem, it will eventually pass. Mindfulness also teaches us about impermanence, which is one of the central teachings in Buddhism. Everything in life, from our thoughts and emotions to the people and situations around us, is constantly changing. This is a fundamental truth of existence. And when we truly understand this, we stop clinging to things, whether they're good or bad. We stop trying to hold on to happiness or avoid suffering, because we know that both are temporary. The practice of mindfulness helps us navigate life's challenges with more grace and ease. When we face difficult emotions, like anger, fear, or sadness, mindfulness allows us to observe them without becoming overwhelmed by them. We can acknowledge these feelings, understand their impermanent nature, and let them go. Instead of being controlled by our emotions, we can respond to them with awareness and wisdom. One of the most profound effects of mindfulness is that it helps us cultivate a sense of compassion for ourselves and others. When we become more aware of our own thoughts and feelings, we develop a deeper understanding of others. We begin to recognize that everyone is going through their own struggles, and this awareness opens our hearts to others' pain and suffering. Mindfulness helps us see the world with greater clarity, and in doing so, we naturally become more kind and compassionate. In today's world, where distractions are everywhere, mindfulness is more important than ever. We live in an age of constant noise, with our phones, social media, and work demanding our attention at all times. But when we are always looking outside ourselves for answers or entertainment, we miss out on the richness of life that's happening right in front of us. Mindfulness is the antidote to this distraction. It helps us reconnect with ourselves and the world around us, bringing us back to the present moment. As you begin to practice mindfulness, remember that it's a journey, not a destination. You won't suddenly become a perfect meditator or a calm, serene person overnight. But with consistent practice, you will start to notice the subtle shifts in your awareness. You will begin to feel more grounded, more at peace with yourself, and more connected to the world. And as you develop this practice, you'll find that no matter what life throws at you, you can stay calm, centered, and happy. In conclusion, mindfulness is a powerful tool for staying present in the midst of life's chaos. It allows us to break free from the constant chatter of the mind and experience life as it truly is. By practicing mindfulness, we can find peace in the present moment, regardless of our external circumstances. It's not about escaping reality, but about fully embracing it, with all its challenges and joys. So, take a deep breath and begin your own mindfulness journey today. The practice of loving kindness and compassion. In every moment, we have the ability to bring light into the world around us. This light comes from one simple, powerful practice: loving kindness. It's the art of caring for others, not out of obligation, but because we genuinely wish them well. It's about wishing for the happiness and well-being of all beings, starting with yourself. Loving kindness is not something we are born with. It is something we nurture. It is a practice, just like learning to play a musical instrument or becoming good at a sport. At first, it may feel awkward or unnatural, but over time, with practice, it becomes a part of you, as natural as breathing. It is a tool we can use every day to transform our own lives and the lives of others. Think about it. Have you ever had a moment when someone smiled at you or said something kind, and it completely changed your mood? It's not just the words that matter. It's the energy behind them. A smile can feel like a warm hug for the soul. In the same way, loving kindness allows us to radiate warmth, even in the most challenging of times. In Buddhism, we call this metta, which is often translated as loving kindness or benevolence. It's an unconditional love for all beings, without any expectations of getting something in return. Loving kindness doesn't ask, "What can I get from you?" It simply asks, "How can I help? How can I offer peace?" At first glance, this may sound easy, just be kind to others, right? But the real challenge lies in being kind when you don't feel like it. When someone has wronged you, or when the world seems unfair, the practice of loving kindness becomes a true test of our inner strength. It's easy to love those who love us back, but can we love even those who have hurt us? Can we offer kindness to those who may not return it? This is where the deeper power of loving kindness shines through. The more you practice it, the more you realize that offering kindness is not just for the benefit of others. It's for your own peace of mind. It's for your own healing. Every time you choose to offer love instead of anger, compassion instead of resentment, you free yourself from the chains of negativity. In the teachings of Buddhism, we are encouraged to practice loving kindness through a simple meditation. Imagine yourself surrounded by a warm, golden light. With each breath, this light expands, filling the space around you. As you breathe in, feel the peace of this light entering your heart. As you breathe out, let it radiate to those around you, to your loved ones, to those you may have difficulty with, and even to all beings across the world. Start with yourself. You can't give love to others if you don't first love yourself. Sometimes, we forget that we deserve love, especially when we are hard on ourselves or feel unworthy. But true loving kindness begins with self-compassion. Recognize that you are deserving of love, care, and respect just as much as anyone else. Speak kindly to yourself, treat yourself gently, and forgive yourself for your imperfections. Next, extend that love to your loved ones, family, friends, those who support and uplift you. Think about the people who bring joy into your life. Imagine their faces, their smiles, and send them thoughts of happiness and well-being. Wish them peace, health, and success. But here is where the practice becomes even more powerful. Extend your loving kindness to those with whom you have difficulty. This is the true test of compassion. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but it is in these moments that we grow. Take a deep breath and, with a calm heart, imagine the person who has hurt you. See them as a human being, struggling with their own challenges. Send them love, just as you would send love to a friend. In doing so, you free yourself from the burden of anger and resentment. And finally, take it a step further. Send loving kindness to all beings, everywhere. Imagine the entire world, full of people just like you. People who feel pain, who seek happiness, who long for peace. Send them your love. Imagine the light of your loving kindness touching every person, every animal, every part of the earth. This is the power of loving kindness. It is not limited by time, space, or circumstance. It is boundless, like the sun that shines for everyone, no matter who they are or where they come from. In Buddhist practice, loving kindness is not just about the mind. It's about action. It's about how we live, how we interact with others, and how we make choices each day. It is a commitment to embody compassion in every moment. Whether it's a small gesture, like helping someone carry a heavy load, or a larger act, such as standing up for someone who is being treated unfairly, loving kindness must flow through our actions as well as our thoughts. When we make this a daily practice, something beautiful happens. We start to see the world differently. Instead of focusing on what's wrong or what's missing, we begin to notice what's good, what's kind, and what's loving. We become more patient with others, more understanding, and more forgiving. We recognize that we are all in this together, facing the same struggles, hoping for the same joy. Loving kindness doesn't mean we ignore the harsh realities of life. It doesn't mean we avoid conflict or turn a blind eye to injustice. In fact, when we practice loving kindness, we find that we can face these challenges with a clearer, more compassionate mind. We become more resilient because our hearts are open, and we are grounded in the understanding that, despite the difficulties we encounter, we can always choose to respond with love. Through this practice, we learn the true meaning of happiness. It is not something that is given to us by the world around us, but something we create from within. Happiness is not a destination, but a journey. And on this journey, the more we open our hearts to others, the more we open our hearts to ourselves, the more joy and peace we will find along the way. So, remember this. Loving kindness is not just a feeling, it's a way of living. And when you make it a part of your daily life, you'll see how it transforms not only your relationships, but also your own heart. You'll begin to experience a deep sense of peace that comes from knowing you've done something good, something kind, something meaningful, something that makes this world a little brighter for everyone. Letting go, overcoming attachment and aversion. In life, we often find ourselves caught in a web of attachments and aversions. We crave certain things and push away others. But what if I told you that these very attachments are the source of much of our suffering? What if true happiness lies in the freedom to let go? Let's start by talking about attachment. Think of something you hold dear. It could be a person, a material possession, or even a particular outcome you desire. When we become attached to something, we begin to rely on it for our happiness. We start to believe that without it, we cannot be complete, that without it, we cannot be happy. But here's the catch. When our happiness depends on something outside of ourselves, it is always at risk. Circumstances change, things break, people change, and in the blink of an eye, what we were attached to can be gone. Have you ever experienced the pain of losing something, or someone you were deeply attached to? It feels like a part of you has been taken away. This is because, in our attachment, we have fused our sense of self with that object or person. The more we hold on, the more we fear losing. But the more we fear losing, the more we suffer when the inevitable happens. This cycle can go on, pulling us deeper into suffering. Buddhism teaches us that the root of this attachment lies in the illusion of permanence. We cling to things because we believe they will last, that they will remain the same forever. But the truth is, everything in life is impermanent. People change, things break, and situations shift. When we understand that nothing in life is permanent, we can start to loosen our grip on attachment. The more we cling to things, the more we tie ourselves to suffering. But when we release our attachment, we allow ourselves the freedom to experience peace and contentment, regardless of what happens in the world around us. Letting go doesn't mean we stop caring. It doesn't mean we don't value the things and people that are important to us. It simply means that we stop depending on them for our happiness. We stop expecting them to fill the emptiness inside. Instead, we begin to cultivate happiness from within, knowing that our happiness is not dependent on external circumstances. When we let go of attachment, we make room for a deeper, more lasting sense of peace and joy to grow. But attachment isn't just about holding on to things. It also comes in the form of aversion, our desire to avoid or push away things we don't like. We resist things that make us uncomfortable or bring us pain. We want to run away from discomfort and hardship. But what happens when we resist? We only create more suffering for ourselves. The more we try to push away pain, the more we create a battle inside ourselves. We fight against reality, and in doing so, we increase our internal struggle. Think about a moment in your life when you faced something difficult. Maybe it was a challenge at work, a relationship problem, or even a personal loss. How did you react? Did you try to avoid it? Did you resist it, hoping it would go away on its own? Often, when we try to resist, we only prolong our suffering. By pushing away our discomfort, we deny ourselves the opportunity to learn and grow from it. In Buddhism, we are taught to accept life as it is, with all of its challenges and difficulties. Instead of running from pain, we are encouraged to embrace it. Not in a way that means we like it or want more of it, but in a way that allows us to be present with it without resistance. When we stop resisting what is, we stop creating unnecessary pain. We learn to face our discomfort with calmness and equanimity, knowing that it is temporary and that it, too, shall pass. But letting go of attachment and aversion is not easy. It requires a shift in mindset, a change in the way we view the world. It requires practice, patience, and self-awareness. The first step is to recognize when we are attached or when we are pushing something away. Pay attention to your thoughts and feelings. Are you clinging to something, hoping it will bring you happiness? Are you resisting something because you want it to disappear? Once we become aware of these patterns, we can begin to let go. One powerful tool for letting go is mindfulness. When we are mindful, we become aware of our thoughts, emotions, and reactions in the present moment. We stop living on autopilot, and instead, we start to observe ourselves with curiosity and compassion. Mindfulness helps us see where we are holding on too tightly and where we are resisting too much. It brings us into the present moment, where nothing is fixed and everything is fluid. Mindfulness also helps us develop a sense of detachment, not in the sense of being cold or indifferent, but in the sense of being free from the need to control or possess. We learn to appreciate things without clinging to them. We experience people without expecting them to fulfill all of our needs. We enjoy life without demanding that it be perfect. And in this freedom, we find true peace. Another helpful practice is meditation. Meditation allows us to quiet the mind and connect with our inner self. It gives us the space to let go of our attachments and aversions, even if only for a moment. As we meditate, we learn to observe our thoughts without judgment or attachment. We let them come and go, without getting caught up in them. This practice helps us cultivate a sense of inner peace that doesn't depend on what is happening outside of us. It helps us realize that we don't need to hold on or push away anything to be happy. Happiness is already within us. But letting go also requires courage. It requires the courage to face our fears, to confront the unknown, and to trust that everything will be okay even when we don't have control. When we let go, we open ourselves to new possibilities, to new experiences, into a new way of being. We learn to trust the flow of life, knowing that it will carry us exactly where we need to go. It's important to remember that letting go is a gradual process. It's not something that happens overnight. It takes time, and there will be setbacks along the way. But every step you take towards letting go brings you closer to the peace and happiness you seek. So be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself, and remember, the more you let go, the more you will find that happiness and freedom were within you all along. In the end, letting go is not about giving up or resigning yourself to life's challenges. It's about freeing yourself from the chains of attachment and aversion. It's about realizing that happiness doesn't come from what you hold on to, but from your ability to let go. When you learn to let go, you will find that life is not something to control, but something to experience with an open heart and a peaceful mind. And in that space, you will discover true happiness. Cultivating gratitude in all circumstances. Gratitude is often misunderstood. Many people think that gratitude is simply about being thankful when things are going well. But true gratitude, as taught in Buddhism, is far deeper and more profound. It's not just about the good things in life. It's about finding appreciation in everything, even the difficult and painful moments. Let me ask you, when was the last time you paused and truly felt thankful for something in your life, no matter how small? It could be the warmth of the sun on your skin, the taste of a cup of tea, or even the breath you just took. These things might seem insignificant, but when we practice gratitude, we begin to notice them more, and we realize that life is full of small wonders that we often overlook. In Buddhism, gratitude is not just an emotion. It's a practice, a way of being. It's the key to transforming our relationship with the world around us. When we cultivate gratitude, we shift our focus from what's missing in our lives to what's already present. This shift allows us to experience a deeper sense of peace, contentment, and happiness. Consider this. How often do you catch yourself focusing on what you don't have? Maybe you're thinking about the things you've lost, the mistakes you've made, or the desires that are yet unfulfilled. It's easy to get trapped in this cycle of wanting more, of feeling dissatisfied with what's in front of you. But when you bring your attention to gratitude, something amazing happens. You stop focusing on what's lacking, and you start seeing what you already have. Gratitude, at its core, is about acknowledging the beauty in life, no matter how imperfect it may seem. The Buddhists believe that everything in life is interconnected, and every experience, whether joyful or painful, is an opportunity for growth. When we face challenges, instead of seeing them as obstacles, we can choose to see them as teachers. Each challenge can teach us something valuable: patience, resilience, understanding, or compassion. When we cultivate gratitude for these lessons, even the toughest situations become stepping stones on our path to greater wisdom and happiness. Let's take a moment to reflect. How would your life change if you started each day by focusing on what you're grateful for? Imagine waking up and, before anything else, simply pausing to appreciate the fact that you have another day, another chance to learn, grow, and experience life. This simple practice, repeated every day, has the power to transform your entire outlook on life. But it's not just about appreciating the big moments. Gratitude also means noticing the small, everyday blessings. Perhaps you had a kind interaction with a stranger, or you found a quiet moment of peace during a busy day. These small moments add up, and when you practice gratitude for them, you start to see life through a different lens. The mundane becomes extraordinary. It's important to note that cultivating gratitude doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending that everything is perfect. Life has its challenges, and it's okay to acknowledge them. Gratitude isn't about denying the struggles, but about recognizing that even in difficult times, there is something to be grateful for. Maybe it's the strength you've discovered within yourself, or the support you've received from others. Perhaps it's the lessons you've learned through hardship. Gratitude allows us to see the bigger picture, to realize that everything, both good and bad, plays a role in our growth. In Buddhist teachings, one of the most profound forms of gratitude is toward the present moment. We are often so focused on the past or the future that we forget to fully appreciate the present. Yet, the present is all we truly have. When we are truly present, we become aware of everything around us, the sounds, the smells, the sensations, and we begin to appreciate life in its fullness. This presence is the foundation of gratitude. When you are fully engaged in the here and now, you can find gratitude in even the most ordinary moments. Gratitude also deepens our connections with others. When we appreciate the people in our lives, we foster more positive and meaningful relationships. It's easy to take those closest to us for granted, but by consciously expressing gratitude for their presence, love, and support, we strengthen our bond with them. In Buddhism, gratitude is often extended to not just the people who are kind to us, but to everyone, even those who challenge us. By acknowledging the lessons we learn from others, we develop a greater sense of compassion and understanding. One of the practices that Buddhists use to cultivate gratitude is the gratitude meditation. In this practice, you take a moment to mentally list all the things you are grateful for. It could be anything from your health, your home, your family, or even the simple joys of life. As you breathe deeply, you reflect on each of these things and allow yourself to feel a deep sense of appreciation for them. This practice shifts your focus from what's wrong to what's right, and it helps to ground you in a state of contentment. If you're feeling lost or overwhelmed, the practice of gratitude can be especially powerful. It doesn't matter where you are in life, the gratitude can always be cultivated. Even when things are difficult, we can still find something to be thankful for. It's about changing the lens through which we view the world. This shift in perspective can bring a sense of peace, helping you to feel more grounded and centered, even in the midst of chaos. At times, life may seem unfair, and it's easy to fall into the trap of bitterness or resentment. But holding on to negative feelings only drags us further from happiness. Gratitude is the antidote. By choosing to be grateful, even for the challenges, you reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become an active participant in your own peace of mind. Buddhism teaches us that true happiness comes from within, and gratitude is a key part of this inner peace. When we appreciate life, we align ourselves with the flow of the universe. We stop resisting what is and begin to accept things as they are. This acceptance is not passive, it's active. It's a choice to find joy, no matter what the external world presents to us. Gratitude allows us to let go of attachments to outcomes and to embrace life as it is. In the end, cultivating gratitude isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing the beauty and value in everything, no matter what it looks like on the surface. By practicing gratitude, we shift our focus from the lack we often feel to the abundance that surrounds us. It's a practice that can bring immense peace and joy, and it's available to us at all times. So, Take a moment today to pause and reflect on all that you have to be grateful for. And remember, it's not about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about making the present moment perfect through gratitude. Life is a precious gift, and when we learn to see it through the eyes of gratitude, we unlock a deeper, more meaningful happiness that doesn't depend on external circumstances. Meditative practices for cultivating inner joy. In the world we live in today, where distractions are endless and noise fills every corner of our lives, it can be hard to find a moment of peace. It often feels like our minds are always racing, with thoughts jumping from one thing to another, leaving us overwhelmed and tired. But what if there was a way to calm the mind, to bring it to stillness, and in that stillness, discover an inner joy that never fades, no matter what is happening around us? The answer lies in the ancient practice of meditation. A practice so simple, yet incredibly powerful. It is one of the most profound tools Buddhism offers to help us cultivate happiness, not just in moments of peace, but even during life's most challenging times. Meditation, at its core, is about training the mind. Just as we exercise our bodies to build strength, we must exercise our minds to build clarity, focus, and emotional resilience. Let's take a step back and consider how meditation works. Imagine a glass of water filled with dirt and mud. If you shake the water, the dirt floats around, making the water murky. But if you leave the water still for a while, the dirt begins to settle at the bottom, and the water becomes clear. Our minds are like that glass of water. When we're constantly reacting to everything around us, whether it's stress, emotions, or worries, the mind becomes clouded and unsettled. Meditation helps us pause, to let the dust settle, and to return to a state of clarity and calm. One of the simplest meditation practices is known as mindfulness of breathing. It involves focusing on the breath, paying attention to each inhale and exhale. It sounds simple, but it's incredibly effective. When you sit quietly and simply observe your breath, you bring your attention to the present moment. The mind, which is usually racing, begins to calm down. Thoughts may still come and go, but with practice, you learn not to attach to them. Instead of following every thought, you simply let them pass by, like clouds in the sky. By focusing on the breath, you bring yourself into the present moment, which is all we really have. Our worries about the past or future lose their grip on us. With each breath, you connect to a deep sense of peace that resides within you, no matter the external circumstances. This simple act of breathing mindfully can be a gateway to inner joy, as it allows you to detach from the chaos of the outside world and return to a place of balance within. Another meditation technique commonly practiced in Buddhism is loving-kindness meditation, also known as metta. This practice is centered on cultivating feelings of love, compassion, and goodwill toward ourselves and others. It's often said that love is the most powerful force in the universe, and when we focus on generating love for all beings, starting with ourselves, we create an inner joy that grows stronger over time. To practice loving-kindness meditation, you start by silently repeating phrases like, "May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. May I live with ease." Then, you extend these wishes to others, first to loved ones, then to acquaintances, and even to people you may find difficult to deal with. You may even extend these wishes to all beings in the world. This practice helps break down the barriers of anger, resentment, and fear that often block our natural ability to experience joy. By focusing on sending love and kindness into the world, we also open ourselves up to receiving love and joy in return. There is also a practice known as Zen meditation or Zazen. This form of meditation is about sitting in stillness and paying attention to the present moment without judgment or distraction. It's often practiced in a seated posture, with the legs crossed, the back straight, and the hands resting in a specific mudra, hand gesture. While seated, the meditator focuses on their breath, letting go of any thoughts or distractions. In Zen, the focus is on just being, simply being present in the moment, without trying to achieve anything. This may sound simple, but it can be surprisingly challenging. The mind is full of thoughts, and it takes patience and discipline to sit with them, allowing them to come and go without attachment. Zen meditation teaches us that joy doesn't need to be chased or sought after. Instead, it is found in the simplicity of being present with life as it is. When we stop trying to change the world around us and simply allow it to be, we experience the joy of accepting things as they are. In this state of acceptance, we begin to find peace, no matter what is going on around us. There's another meditation practice known as vipassana, or insight meditation. This practice helps you observe your thoughts, emotions, and sensations without attachment or judgment. It's about observing how things come and go, whether it's a feeling of anger, joy, sadness, or even physical sensations. Through vipassana, you begin to realize that everything in life is temporary, including your emotions. Just as clouds pass through the sky, your feelings, thoughts, and experiences will also come and go. By observing them without attachment, you gain freedom from being controlled by them. This awareness brings a deep sense of peace and joy, as you realize that you are not your thoughts or emotions. You are the observer of them. Meditation also helps us develop a sense of gratitude. When we sit quietly, away from the distractions of daily life, we become more aware of the beauty and wonder of the present moment. We begin to notice the simple things we often take for granted. A warm cup of tea, the sound of birds singing, the feeling of sunlight on our skin. Meditation helps us cultivate appreciation for the small moments that make life so rich and full. This gratitude, in turn, nourishes our inner joy and allows us to feel happier with what we already have, rather than constantly striving for more. In meditation, there's also a powerful practice known as contemplation, where you reflect deeply on certain truths or teachings. One of the key teachings in Buddhism is the realization of the impermanence of all things. This can be a difficult truth to accept, as we often want things to stay the same. However, by contemplating impermanence, we come to understand that everything is always changing. This realization can actually bring great peace, because we no longer cling to things, people, or situations. We accept that life is fluid, and in that acceptance, we find joy in the ever-changing nature of existence. When you meditate regularly, you begin to build a habit of returning to the present moment. In every moment, you have a choice to either get lost in the whirlwind of thoughts and emotions, or to return to the calm center within you. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to find that stillness, even in the midst of chaos. With this calm center, you are better able to handle life's challenges without being swept away by them. In this way, meditation becomes not just a practice, but a way of life. A way to cultivate an inner joy that is not dependent on external circumstances. In the end, meditation is not about achieving something or getting better at it. It's about experiencing the joy that comes from being fully present and aware of each moment. It's about finding peace, not through external changes, but through a shift in how we relate to the world around us. With regular practice, you'll find that your mind becomes quieter, your heart becomes more open, and your joy becomes more profound. In the silence, you'll discover the happiness that has always been there, waiting for you to notice. Meditation, in all its forms, is a practice that leads us back to our true nature, a nature that is inherently joyful, peaceful, and free from the turbulence of the world. By cultivating this inner peace, we can face life's challenges with grace and ease, always returning to the joy that resides within. Through meditation, we not only find ourselves but also uncover the joy that is present in every moment, in every breath, and in every experience. Conclusion: embracing the journey towards lasting happiness. As we come to the end of this journey, it's important to remember that happiness is not a destination, but a way of being. Throughout this video, we've explored many aspects of life and how we can cultivate happiness in every situation. But, in the end, it all boils down to one simple truth. Happiness is a choice, and it begins with you. It's easy to think of happiness as something that comes from outside, something we need to find, to chase after. We often believe that once we have the right job, the right relationship, or the right circumstances, then we will be happy. But what if I told you that happiness can be found right here, right now, within you? Would you believe it? Buddhism teaches us that true happiness doesn't depend on our external world. In fact, the things we often chase, wealth, fame, success, are temporary and fleeting. They can bring moments of joy, but they don't provide lasting happiness. On the other hand, the inner peace we find through understanding our own minds, practicing compassion, and embracing the present moment can lead to a happiness that never fades. The journey to lasting happiness is not about seeking perfection, but about accepting ourselves as we are, with all our strengths and weaknesses. It's about learning to see our struggles not as obstacles, but as opportunities to grow, to become stronger, and to deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Through this journey, we begin to see that even the most difficult situations hold lessons, and within every challenge, there is the potential for growth. Remember the key teachings we've learned from Buddhism, that suffering is a part of life, but it doesn't define us. That impermanence is the nature of all things, and by accepting this, we can find peace in knowing that nothing is permanent, whether it's our pain or our joy. That mindfulness allows us to stay present, to experience life fully without being controlled by our thoughts or emotions. That loving kindness and compassion are the keys to opening our hearts and connecting with others on a deeper level. So, how can you continue this journey toward lasting happiness? Start by embracing each day as it comes, without trying to force happiness or chase it in the wrong places. Practice being mindful in every moment, whether you're eating, walking, or simply breathing. When challenges arise, instead of reacting with frustration or anger, pause and reflect on the opportunity for growth. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this situation? How can I respond with compassion, both to myself and others? Also, make time for gratitude. Every day, take a moment to reflect on the things you're thankful for. It could be something as simple as the warmth of the sun, the love of a friend, or the joy of a peaceful moment. When we focus on what we have, rather than what we lack, we open ourselves to a deeper sense of contentment. Remember that happiness doesn't need to be big or dramatic. It's in the quiet moments, the small gestures of kindness, the awareness of the present moment. Happiness is found in the space between thoughts, in the peace that comes when we let go of the need to control everything and allow life to unfold naturally. It's also important to understand that this journey is not a quick fix. It's not something you can achieve overnight. Lasting happiness takes practice, patience, and commitment. But just like any skill, the more you practice, the easier it becomes. The more you practice mindfulness, the more natural it becomes to stay present. The more you practice compassion, the more your heart opens to others. And the more you practice gratitude, the more you begin to see the world through a lens of abundance and joy. You may not always feel happy, and that's okay. Life has its ups and downs, and sometimes it's hard to see the light in the darkness. But as you continue to practice the principles we've discussed, you'll find that even in the toughest moments, there is a sense of peace, a deeper understanding, and a quiet happiness that remains steady within you. It's about trusting the process, trusting that, no matter what happens in life, you have the power within you to respond with grace, with kindness, and with wisdom. You have the ability to find happiness, not in the world outside, but in the way you choose to view the world and interact with it. In the end, the journey towards lasting happiness is not about avoiding pain or seeking constant pleasure. It's about embracing life fully, accepting all of its joys and sorrows, its challenges and triumphs, and finding peace within the ever-changing flow of life. So, as we close, remember this: happiness is already within you. It doesn't depend on the world around you, but on how you choose to perceive and respond to it. You have everything you need to find happiness right now, in this moment, just as you are. Now, if you found value in this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel Wisdom Woven. Your support means the world to us and helps spread this message of peace, joy, and lasting happiness to more people. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us. Remember, the path to happiness is not a destination. It's a lifelong journey. And as you continue on this path, may you find peace, love, and joy in every step.